Holy cow, so freaking pod.
Chapter 3. Hello again, I'm Cheridium.
Hi again, it's Charles.
And I'm Chad.
And welcome to Chapter 3.
One day we can stop saying hi, but not right now.
So, what, if anything, happened in this chapter?
Well, I'm gonna tell you! Summary. They make arrangements for and do the photo shoot of Christian at the Heathman Hotel where he's staying. He asks Anastasia out on a date afterwards, and they go to Starbucks and chat it up. As they walk back to the hotel, Anna almost gets run over by a bike, but Christian saves her. The chapter ends with them in an embrace. Will they kiss?
And that's where it ends.
Yeah.
Will they kiss?
Well, they don't kiss in this chapter. Maybe they will next chapter, but it's a spoiler. I don't know. I forgot to check. This chapter is really long. I was able to sum that up in about 30 seconds, but she took 12 or more pages depending on what version you're reading.
Well, there's more exposition to do, I guess. They gotta fucking talk about Jose and Paul and how they are still both in love with Anna.
But it's not needed. It could have been done in little ways, and it could have been done earlier. And it's just this adds nothing to the story. I don't know if anybody else was as displeased as I am. To actually read through and analyze it, it was like killing myself. It was so bad. I sort of have said that we should keep it shorter, because if we were to kind of go over it in full, you would kill yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so much, though. It's hard to pick and choose, but we'll try.
We'll try our best. Just do your best, guys. Anybody have any pet theories?
I have one that I just came up with. I was wondering why they didn't just do the photo shoot in his fancy room. It took 20 minutes to set it up. Or it took maybe an hour to set everything up, do the photos, and then take everything down. Why didn't they just do it in his suite, which is probably super fancy and has multiple rooms? I think it's because Christian Grey brought all his BDSM stuff with him, and his room cannot be entered without someone fainting. Anna probably fainting.
It can't be entered without a password and a safe word.
They didn't actually ask him. They just went ahead and Kate made arrangements with the hotel for a student newspaper to get a free room in exchange for exposure in a student newspaper.
Well, for an hour.
Also, that room gets upgraded to a suite. There's no reason why they should have gotten upgraded to a suite. They say, "Oh, we're here to photograph Christian Grey, CEO," and that's enough. That's enough.
Well, and they also get a shout out in the school newspaper.
Yeah, but that's nothing.
Yeah, what student is ever going to read that paper and then say, "Oh, I should stay there in this town that I live in"?
The most expensive hotel in my city. I have a pet theory that started with this chapter. So my previous pet theory was just the Anastasia, Dorian Gray, Bartok trifecta, which, if you are curious, please go back and listen to the previous episode. My new pet theory. So in passing and other things, I've mentioned that I don't entirely believe that E.L. James is really human or necessarily knows what humans are like. And this chapter kind of highlights that in a few interesting ways. So my new pet theory is that no one in this book is actually human, or at the very least, just Anna and Christian aren't human. They're all just imposters or aliens pretending to be human. They could be they could be wendigos or something.
Lizard people, like Obama.
The reptilians.
They don't know that either. They don't know that they're pretending, or they do, but they believe that everyone else is really human, so they're confused why they're acting so inhuman.
Whoa.
So Anna keeps mentioning how she finds parts of Christian Grey unsettling, like an uncanny valley sort of thing. She literally says in this that she can't look at his mouth because she finds it unsettling. So he seems almost human, or not quite human, and she's just bumping up against the uncanny valley, which is unsettling to her because she spent so much time living, studying humans.
So in other words, Christian Grey is some kind of creature that has a human camouflage. Gotcha.
Exactly.
He's like a wendigo shapeshifter with super long tree-like fingers.
Right, exactly. And that's the other reason Anna can't act like a real human being, because she's not really human either. That's why she's got all these weird thoughts and stuff that don't gel with how normal people work.
What mythical creature is she?
Cool. I almost want to say she's a kappa because, of the whole liquid in the head thing, she's always blushing. And kappas basically have, a head toilet. Think about it.
That's a good theory.
Kappa Wendigo kisses. And as for me, I have no theories, and that's because I've given up. I've read the whole book, I know what happens, and I can't even have fun with it anymore. Just kill me now. It's only chapter 3, kill me now.
You can look for subtext. And ridiculous theories like Chad's.
Okay,
which is not that ridiculous.
Well, maybe I'll be inspired to try after this. Thanks for holding me up when I'm down. We're going to go into what was bad, and I think what was bad is going to take up probably most of this podcast. There were some comma crimes. At one point, they stop waiting for a crosswalk light, and it says where we stop waiting for a light, not where we stop waiting for the light, like, to change. On page 27, here's the sentence. The richest, comma, most elusive, comma, most enigmatic bachelor in Washington State, comma, just gave you his cell phone number. That last comma's not okay. The richest, most elusive, most enigmatic bachelor in Washington State just gave you his cell phone number. Wrong.
That isn't in the print version, though. I will say that. Good job, editor. Let's see. There's another adjective stack, which is pretty bad. Page 39. Grace smiles a dazzling, unguarded, natural, all teeth showing, glorious smile.
Yes, that's a very good line.
Looking at my teeth.
And another piece of evidence in my theory that they're not really human. Listen, that's just like that. She's describing his smile in such a way that she's never seen a smile before.
You don't literally show all your teeth. I think you maybe show, maybe like 8 teeth tops. When Paul is coming into the storeroom while she's texting Jose, the narrator somehow knows that Paul is coming in for sandpaper. She doesn't describe him getting the sandpaper. She just knows. Like, he came in to get some sandpaper. How do you know that?
Well, maybe he just picked it up or something.
Oh, something similar happens with Kate over the phone when they're making the arrangements for the hotel or where he's staying. She knows that he's at the Heathman, even though Anna doesn't actually tell her that. But it's like there's not like a break in the time. Like, she just immediately like, oh, he's staying at the Heathman immediately after she gets off the phone, and Anna was in a different room. It's just a small thing. So there's one sentence, like right when they get to the photo shoot, that is technically a fine sentence, but it's just a shit sentence if you're a writer, and also she just could have written it better. So it's Christian Grey comes in and he's like meeting everybody, and Anna says in her mind, she shakes his hand, as does Jose. Like, that's just it's just such a cumbersome sentence. So another thing is that Anna describes Kate at one point when she's trying to convince Kate to let her hang out with Christian and get coffee. She looks as if she's considering her request. She looks as if she's considering her request. Doesn't that mean that she's probably considering your request? That's a weird presumption to make. Is Anna psychic? Does she already know what Kate's decision is going to be?
She already knew what Paul was going to get from the storeroom.
Exactly.
The narrator as a separate entity and Anna as herself are starting to clash with each other. This is something that the author really should have figured out before she published the book.
I think it might be her some sort of strange psychic supernatural dissociation where her subconscious is becoming sentient and omniscient.
The powers of the subconscious, which has the ability to speak with the conscious mind.
Oh boy.
All right, and this is the last thing that I will bring up for mechanics. So page 40 of the print copy, right as Christian and Anna are leaving to go get their coffee, walking towards the elevator, Anna's narration goes like this. I make my way down the corridor, my knees shaky, my stomach full of butterflies, and my heart and my mouth thumping a dramatic, uneven beat. That sentence is fine, except that she uses 3 different cliches in the same sentence to express the same feeling of like anxiousness, nervousness, or anticipation. She doesn't need to say all 3 of those at the same time.
At one point, her heart also ends up in her mouth.
Literally choking her for air. That was like last chapter. She described her heart as...
That is a really unattractive simile.
You touched on a very important part of why this chapter was so bad, which is that like the author uses a lot of like not sexy descriptors of feeling. Heart lurching is one. Where's the other one? Scalp prickle. This is all like in the beginning couple of pages of the chapter. Like it's not sexy.
There's a section. Oh, one thing is that like the couple in the elevator is quote unquote staring guiltily in every direction but ours, which kind of makes it sound like they're just glancing around like really nervously or shiftily. That's not a big deal. Twice the author brings up what kind of pants Christian Grey is wearing, but she doesn't actually describe them, despite all the description she does for everything else.
Are you sure? Doesn't she say
They're
she's
gray
wearing?
and they hang off his hips.
Yeah, flannel.
And that makes her horny.
She says they're flannel gray pants, but she doesn't describe like. And Anna's like really like, whoa, his pants are so nice. She doesn't describe like why his pants look good on him. She's just saying like they look good, and then like they hang off his hips. Like, but how? Like in what way? She goes.
That means like they're riding low or something.
But
yeah,
they just are literally hanging off her hips. There's no. She doesn't go further than that. So, like right after she says like. She says just how they hang off of his hips, but she doesn't describe how they're doing it, like that makes it attractive. And then,
yeah, like, a lot of that is just like, wow, his mouth, his fingers, but they're not like. Maybe it's just like a subconscious thing where she's like, why do I feel these sexy thoughts about these things?
That would be fine if it weren't for all the other unnecessary description. Like 2 paragraphs down, she describes the table that they're sitting at as a round birch veneer table. That's a pretty precise description. And then later, when they're drinking the tea, Anna describes in detail what's happening. So, like, Christian Grey hands her the teapot, the cup, and the small round saucer for her cup. And then she also name drops Twinings. Like, that's like, but she won't describe, like, how the pants that he's wearing are hanging off of his hips. That just seems silly.
She just loves tea.
Yeah, sure does. We will.
Oh, yes,
we will
she does.
soon get at too. It's in Bad Things.
Oh boy.
But that's all for me.
Hilarious phrasing. Did you guys notice? I don't know if you noticed that this author regurgitates certain phrases like "holy crap," "holy crap," "holy crap."
Holy crap, are you serious?
Holy crap! I'm serious. What does she say any other holy things? Can you guys
Holy
remember me
fuck.
that?
Holy shit.
cow!
Holy cow.
shit!
Holy shit.
Holy cow, holy
crap.
shit, and
Holy
fuck.
fuck.
Does she say fuck?
Yeah.
Later.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
She has a lot of O in there. Like when he's like, "No, I like it when you smile," and she's like, "Ow."
Oh my.
Paul is cute in a wholesome all-American boy next door kind of way, but he's no literary hero, not by any stretch of the imagination. Is Gray, my subconscious asks me, her eyebrow figuratively raised? I slap her down. First of all, how do you figuratively raise an eyebrow?
Well, because she's not real.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's obvious. You have to actually raise the eyebrow. You can't say that. Your subconscious would be figuratively asking you.
True. Yeah, and I want to know about, like, why is she slapping her... Yeah, she doesn't figuratively slap her down.
She literally slaps her down herself.
I think maybe she's trying to... Maybe she's learning to dom herself.
Read the Jose line.
He says, but I do places, Anna, not people, Jose groans.
When asked to photograph Christian Grey. And it's like,
Yes.
Jose, why do you like
And-
Anna then? Like, is it because she also has no personality or mind like a place?
Well, I mean, it hasn't been mentioned or anything that he, like, wants to do a photo shoot of Anna, which would be super creepy if he did, and I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in addition to the date that she is constantly blowing off with Paul, she's also constantly blowing off this creepy photo shoot with Jose.
We'll just find out, won't we?
So many
Boys.
boys up in her grill trying to get her. Boys.
Boys.
Holy crap, boys.
After Jose says this, Anna starts... she starts doing this, like, really weird thing. It doesn't... Should I even read this? Yes, I will. Clutching my cell, I pace the living area of our apartment, staring out the window at the fading evening light. Why did you suddenly start, like, gaping out the window in the middle of your begging?
Just to establish time, I guess.
Yeah, but it is so bad! Just say it's at night, not the fading evening light.
Anna stares out the window at the twilight billboard.
Oh, it's Edward. Hey. During this phone conversation, Kate grabs the handset. What is that? It's a mobile phone.
That's a...
But who calls it
phone?
a handset?
It's-
Help me.
Yeah.
It's a really old-timey phrase.
It sounds like You know, when you'd have those phones that, like, they had, like, the cubby and
Yeah, the
you
little...
would take them out. Then, after she sorts it out, she hangs up the phone and goes, sorted. No American would ever say that.
Oh, I would.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Well, he just does a lot of sorting. Like, he, you know, separates things into different piles.
Well, that's sorted. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I have said it.
In that way?
Yeah, I've said just like sorted, like when dealing with stuff. But I mean, it's pretty uncommon. I don't think most people would say it. I agree.
Sounds normal when you do it. Sounds good when you do it. Child. Cherry Doom, can you talk about some of the Britishisms?
Yeah, one thing that was very awkward was... Oh yes, he's given the department a $2.5 million grant. Wow, how do you know this? Anna, I'm a journalist and I've written a profile on the guy. It's my job to know this. Like, I feel like they would say, how do you know that? Though I have heard tell that people in Seattle are huge sticklers for grammar. So maybe that has something to do with this.
Well,
though they're in Portland though, so I don't know. Okay, I want to talk about the word or er. The first time I noticed it was in Harry Potter, and I was like, why is everybody saying all the time? And I didn't understand that in the British accent it's pronounced
they don't pronounce the R. So it's
But, like, I think that people do that in American literature sometimes, too, where it's understood to be,
Actually, I don't think it's supposed to be. I think it actually is supposed to be because that is, like, a thing people do say.
If it's automatic, and we often say, we never say unless we're making a joke or something, or we're trying to avoid awkwardness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the two most common, like, I forget what these are called, but the two most common things for Americans to say are and. There's actually studies about, according to like certain like linguistic studies, saying stopping and pausing and saying things like and actually draws people's attention more than just speaking clearly and like unbroken. Part of the reason they think that we're conditioned for this is because when we're children, since it's such a natural thing to do, people as children hear their parents doing it and they know like, oh, this is something I need to pay attention to because something important is going to happen. Like they're going to give me important information next about what I need to do. So then as you get older, you recognize it as a signal for pertinent information incoming or something.
Interesting.
Like that.
Great.
Huh. Okay, I'm not sure if this sounds like a British thing. He says, oh my, he really is quite, and then she trails off. This, like, okay, like there's, I feel like it's part of like a British humor kind of thing where they're like, oh, he's quite, isn't he? Like, he's very.
Not quite something. Like, he's quite cute. No, she was just saying he was quite. Whew.
Yeah, it's like he's many quites.
That's pretty egregious.
The way I would say that sentence, being an American, is, or I think that sentence, oh wow, like he's so, and then get interrupted, I guess, which is what I thought was happening.
I may just be misinterpreting it. It feels like a little linguistic joke sort of thing.
I don't think you are.
Finally, Twinings. British people love Twinings. To be fair, it's very good, but I wonder like why she's, Elge has such a boner for it. Like, why does she have to be like, hey, American readers, isn't tea great?
Well, I noticed she does a lot of like product placement things. However, I will say, first of all, Twinings, it is in the US. We do have Twinings tea, but you kind of have to go out of your way.
Yeah.
They also, at least from listening to the Ricky Gervais show with Carl Pilkington, they seem to really like Lipton as well. Go figure. Yeah, I don't know.
Really?
Anna says this to Kate right after Christian invites her out. She says, Christian Grey has asked me to go for tea with him. And that sounds really British to me.
They're going for coffee.
Yeah.
They're not going for tea.
Wait, did she say tea?
No, she says, Christian Grey has asked me to go for coffee with him. Just like,
I see.
Ask me to go for coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then like Christian later is asking her why she doesn't want to drink coffee. And she's like, I'm not keen on coffee.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because she reads so much British literature and this just bleeds into her vernacular.
The last thing is has to do with and here's the note that I wrote. It's Kate's schoolin'. Anna describes like her interactions with Christian Grey as Kate like being really, used to this moneyed world. The way that it's written, and this is also probably because she's British, it sounds like Kate's kind of like an old money family, so it would make more sense for her to go to school in either an old East Coast Ivy League school or like Stanford. And she mentions that she's been to the best private schools in Washington. Why would she have attended more than one? And WSU is not a private school. So
Maybe she went to private
Maybe
baby
it was
school.
Washington, D.C.
maybe. But again, why would she have been moving around?
Because
to like different schools.
that's what rich people do.
I guess.
Later, she dreams of the coveralls.
I'm restless that night, tossing and turning, dreaming of smoky gray eyes, coveralls, long legs, long fingers, and dark, dark, unexplored
Oh my
places.
god, the fingers. Oh my god, the coveralls.
I'm trying to like fathom this fucking terrible dream she must be having.
It sounds like a Geiger-esque nightmare.
Yeah.
I want to believe there's banjo music being played over it.
For the coveralls.
Yeah, later
yeah.
she dreams of the coveralls.
Yeah, I mean, like dancing coveralls, like long.
Square
like-
dancing, fingering.
Just like a moving pair of coveralls with like parts of Christian Grey sticking out of them, like waving around.
Fingers, coveralls, and the unexplored dark place. I choose to believe that she's referring to her vagina, although this could also be an early shout out to the bondage stuff.
I think that it may be a double meaning. Perhaps the bondage metaphor is for her virgin vagina.
She's just a racist, and she's referring to the dark continent.
Oh my god!
The new Joseph Conrad.
Yeah, she's dreaming of Heart of Darkness.
That's beautiful. Okay, favorite sentence, Chad?
Okay, my favorite line, Cherry Doom already said it. Grey smile is a dazzling, unguarded, natural, all teeth showing, glorious smile.
That is a pretty terrible place
Right,
to
and
put
for the
that.
reasons that we talked about. Finally, my favorite sentence. I very rarely throw all my toys out of the pram. This is after she gets a little pissy with Kate. First of all, no American would ever say that. Second of all, it drives home the fact that Anna is like an adult child, literally in a pram, whilst Kate is talking to her, throwing out the toys. It just reads weird.
This is different in the print version. It says, she blinks at me with surprise. I very rarely have hissy fits, and I briefly relent. Still, like, all she says is, okay, I blush all the time. It's an occupational hazard with me. Don't be ridiculous. That does not sound like a hissy fit. Or
No.
pram toy throwing.
That's so funny. I mean, well,
She never even gets that worked up.
Or maybe she's just a lump, and that's as much emotion as she can muster.
I don't know. There are a couple Kate things. I notice in these podcasts we talk about Kate a lot.
She's
Well,
a
she's
spitfire.
more interesting than Anna, or any character for that matter.
She's the ace 20-something, or 20s, 20-something, like ace cub reporter.
Yeah. Okay, so at the photo shoot, Kate is described as being in full flow. Menstrual flow? Then later she wades into the room. Must be a lot of blood.
God. Oh boy.
When Christian and Anna are sorting out the car situation, which was not needed, by the way, he asks about the journalists and photographers. Are they based in the university? Are they based in the university? Like the base god, little b, God bless him. When they were walking to the coffee place, which I think is Starbucks. I don't remember.
It's Portland Coffee House.
Oh, it's Portland Coffee House. Fuck. Okay, so when they're walking to Starbucks, the green man appears, but she doesn't provide any context, so it just sounds like something that would happen in a David Lynch film.
I feel that might be very British. Like, oh, it's the Green Man.
I'll actually like just say that I think this is a deep Britishism, because I was reading another book by a British writer where the same thing was said.
Oh, okay. But see, that's not something we would know
Yeah,
about.
it's like-
We have white men, not green men. Suddenly, whilst at Starbucks, we suddenly get a bunch of detail about the table that they're sitting at. It's a birch veneer table.
Round
birch veneer table. Like, shut up! Stop! There are a lot of references to Christians burning gays. And it's 2013, and burning gays is no longer socially acceptable.
Yeah, Christian, cut it out. I guess it just harkens back to like the antiquated, gender role notion, equating this silly pun to other
fascist Hitlers.
fascist backwards shit.
Okay, so about gazes, there's also the gray gaze, and like get ready to see that a lot.
There was like another one, like a stormy gaze,
Stormy
maybe.
gaze.
Stormy gray gaze.
There was
Cloudy.
cloudy
Yeah,
and
cloudy gaze.
smoky,
Cloudy gaze.
which didn't
Stormy
make
gaze.
sense because the time that she says that is a time when he should have been giving like a penetrating gaze or something, but she said it's
Penetrating gaze.
Oh, this does have the phrase we got our podcast name from. I thought that it was both together, but there's a pants description in between it. It's like where she says, "Holy crap, he's wearing a white shirt, open at the collar, and gray flannel pants that hang up from his hips. His unruly hair is still damp from a shower. My mouth goes dry looking at him. He's so freaking hot."
So freaking hot. Wait, this is really in this chapter?
Yeah.
He showers before the photo shoot?
Yeah, it's when he first walks
Yep.
into the room. That's how she describes him.
Guys, don't shower before a photo shoot. That's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, or you can, but like dry your hair. Come on.
He clearly doesn't give a shit about his hair. It's often described as being messy and tousled, as I'm sure they would say.
Toozled. I don't know how you say it.
Tousled.
Let's be fair. He's the richest man in the room. He can basically do whatever he wants.
I want to talk about the gaze, though. One of the only things that makes it fun for me now, I just prefer to imagine that he has a cavalcade of gays following him around,
Just staring at Anna.
which are occasionally set on fire and held by Anna. Okay, then he unpeels the muffin paper erotically. I don't have a direct quote for this because I don't give a shit. Gray nods slightly, seemingly satisfied with my response, and glances down at his blueberry muffin. His long fingers deftly peel back the paper, and I watch, fascinated.
He is undressing the fuck out of that
He's
muffin.
undressing that muffin with his fingers. Then later, Christian smells expensive. Just say he smells good. This made me so mad. You don't smell like a girl or a guy that you can think, oh, you smell so expensive. Just cut it out.
Oh yeah. What does he? He says something seductively, and I wanted us to all try to say
Oh,
it,
let's do it.
seductively. Okay, where is it?
Seductively. Word searching seductively was a mistake.
Seductive. He's so seductive. Then he starts on my right foot, repeating the whole seductive, mind-blowing process. He whispers, his rich voice warm and seductive. Voice is soft, seductive. Most seductive scent on the planet. Here we go. Miss Steele, how nice to hear from you. His voice has changed. He's surprised, I think. He sounds so warm. Seductive, even. So, I would say, Miss Steele, how nice to hear from you.
I would say, Miss Steele, how nice to hear from you.
Let's see. I would say... give me a second. I don't think I can muster any sort of
Do it!
seductive reading. Miss Steele, how nice to hear from you.
That was all right.
Chats was the best.
It's not very seductive, though.
There's another one where he is machismoing off with Jose, and he says, "Where would you like me?" Gray asks him. His tone sounds vaguely threatening. So I would say, "Where would you like me?" That sounds seductive. And Jose's butt.
Oh, okay, threatening. All right. Where would you like me?
This is further evidence for Charles's Christian Bale theory.
Chad?
Where would you like me? Or we could just make it like overtly threatening. Where would you like me?
Okay, situational things that were stupid. Jose's completely useless. We're not going to talk about him even, except in reference to other things, like him being in a phone call, him being talked about. So fuck Jose. Let's move on. Taylor's introduced, and he seems hotter than Christian does to me. I don't know. Just could be a Charles thing, but Taylor just seems more attractive and nicer to boot. A lot nicer.
You like the buzz cut?
Maybe not so much the buzz cut, but let's move on.
Now I gotta read this description. Gray is followed into the suite by a man in his mid-30s, all buzz cut and stubble, and sharp dark suit tie, who stands silently in the corner. It must be the stubble.
It's the stubble, it's the clear, well-cut... What the fuck am I saying?
Sharp dark suit?
Clear-cut, dark suit. He has a little bit of stubble that's kind of hot. Buzz cut, some people would consider that hot. And he's quiet. He doesn't say anything, and that's, compared to the other characters, that's pretty hot.
So are you describing
What?
Chris Evans?
Chris Evans? No, Chris Evans. Let's talk about Chris. Let's talk,
that is
let's
Captain
talk about
America.
Captain America when we're talking about Anna rejecting Paul.
Her rejection of Paul, she's interpreting him asking her out for a drink after work as like immediately being a date, and she does the same thing when Christian asks her about getting coffee. Is this normally how you interpret this?
I
sort of
would probably
interpretation?
interpret it that way. That's kind of, yeah. I think that might be how certain ladies think.
I'm just. I'm not sure. It's so hard to be a woman sometimes. Like, you have to be.
It really is,
you have to be
especially these
suspicious of
days when,
everything.
no labels.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything like. I think it's probably safer for her to assume that they like are asking her out in a datey sort of way, but
Yeah.
it just makes it hard. Like I just think like it makes it hard like to know like when you if you are just asking somebody out in a friendly way, whether or not they're interpreting it that way. That's just like a small thing.
Sometimes you can tell. Sometimes it's not clear. And when it's not clear, you should just assume that they want your dick.
And I just mean like if this is the sort of thing that I'm like if I were asking somebody out and I'm just always thinking now, are they going to assume that I'm asking them out for a date, even if it is just like an innocent invitation? I'll probably sound kind of nervous, thinking like,
Yeah.
they're gonna take this the wrong way.
We should roleplay one of us asking one of the others out for coffee, and then the third person has to decide whether that was like, a sexy let's go out for coffee or just completely friendly. Who wants to judge? Because I can ask. And I will know inside my heart whether or not I mean it's to be romantic.
I don't know. I guess I can judge.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm gonna ask Cherry out for coffee. Oh, hey, Cherry, what's up? Like, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Okay,
How are
well,
you?
like, I've been all right.
This is 100% romantic.
I've been okay, but
I'm gonna stop you there. This is 100% romantic.
Yeah, you're right.
I
You're
get
right.
that vibe
You're
too.
fucking right.
Game
Well,
over.
it just goes to show you that it is a lot based on context and not so much on
Yeah.
the coffee asking itself. So I hope you've all learned a lesson.
I thought you were just gonna like ask her for coffee immediately, not
Yeah.
like roleplay the whole scenario.
Well, see, that's the thing. Nobody comes up and is like, "Hey, you want some coffee?" Like, because if it's gonna be romantic, I mean, if it was just a friendly thing, like, "Hey,
Well-
want to go get some coffee?"
I think with Christian Grey it's more understandable, but maybe with Paul, I don't think like to immediately since they've worked together and stuff. But
I
don't
get a little suspicious of men whenever they want to ask me out for a drink. I'm sorry, am I?
Yep. No.
Okay.
Not at all.
No,
I
I,
feel that
think
way
you're.
too.
I think you're right. I think you're right to be suspicious. I just like, as a man, I don't know like what's
I
right.
don't know what's right.
Like, why would you need to be suspicious? I mean, is it a thing to be suspicious about? Yes, it is. Leave me alone.
It is.
Everybody.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of like, the amount of like, invitations and harassment that women get, there's no reason not to just be suspicious of everything.
Yeah, just
True.
never let anyone touch you, as we said last podcast.
Speaking of touching, nobody has ever held Anna's hand, like not even in grade
Yeah.
school.
her parents have never held her hand crossing the street. They just push her.
I know. I mean, I guess like, but I guess it's probably like no one's ever held my hand like this. But she could have said
or
that.
like no sexy
No
man
man
has
has
ever
ever-
held my hand.
Yeah, she could have just said, "I've never held a boy's hand before,"
Yeah.
something like that.
So, I was
Um,
going to talk about
Paul?
the rejection.
Yeah, can we read that? Can I read that?
Sure, go ahead.
Control F. Paul. What a mistake. Sandpaper. That doesn't occur. What? She doesn't spell
Until
sorry
it gets
for that.
rubbed
Sorry
up
for-
against her vagina. Oh no! I've never considered it a good idea to date the boss's brother. And besides, Paul is cute in a wholesome, all-American boy next door kind of way. But he's no literary hero, not by any means of the imagination. First of all, the sentence is way too long.
Of course it is. Every sentence is.
Yep.
So yeah, like she wants this. Like, what kind of man does she want? Like the literary figures I can think of are like Rochester, who from Jane Eyre, who like when I pictured him, I can barely remember. Like he seemed like kind of a weakling. For some reason, I'm picturing the father who walked with a cane from Secret Garden. I can barely remember Jane Eyre, but like I just like he seemed like he had like long hair and a mustache, and he seemed like kind of weak and
That's
stringy.
really funny. I think later on in
I
the
don't know.
book,
I might be totally
he
wrong.
gets like degraded by everything that's happening. Yeah, so that would be like one hero. And then
Mr. Darcy, which I kind of understand, but like Rochester was kind of a dick, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, Rochester was like just like a weird like puppet master. Darcy was straight up a dick for like a really long time.
Was he? I thought he was like actively like pursuing her, and
Darcy's an asshole.
She was just like
pretty much. I thought that the point of a lot of like Jane Austen's novels is they were really critical of like the imbalance in power and like pursuit in that way, and that's why she paints so many of the male characters as dicks.
Well, not a lot of her male characters are like that dickish. Like, I mean, no. Leading men typically
not all of them.
Darcy's kind of an exception in that regard, but like
So yeah, I don't like is Christian this I mean sort of like in the like kind of the way that he treats her like shit, I guess.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really.
He's not. Yeah, at this point he's not. I mean, later I guess.
Here's the thing. I think while perhaps somebody may, and by somebody I mean a woman may find themselves weak to kind of like shitty guys, jerky guys. That's like a pretty bad stereotype. However, I'm sorry to say that I really did like Mr. Darcy when I read that book, and it's because I saw that Keira Knightley movie, and it was kind of hot in the movie. I kind of like a saucy guy. Like, I mean, I don't like somebody who's like, oh, Charles, you're my goddess. Like, I want somebody who's gonna be like, hey, twerp, like, fucker, what's that stupid picture you're drawing? Okay, give me a kiss.
Wow.
And if not that, I want Captain America.
So that's two pretty big extremes right there.
Well, you know, Captain America treats a girl right, and maybe this other person pretends not to, but actually they're fine.
All right.
Walks in the room, throws some trash at you.
Here, have this trash. Christian is the opposite. He appears polite, but he's actually shit. Whereas I like guys who appear shit but are actually really polite and respectful. So
yeah, I guess that
that's just me.
Okay, another sentence that I meant to include with my favorite sentences was, I like my tea black and weak. And then Christian says, is he your boyfriend?
That's such a great question.
Like, I thought, like, when I read that, I immediately thought, does he mean, like, is that how you take your men? Like, you take your tea black and weak?
I like my men like I like my tea.
I just chose to interpret it as him actually asking if the tea was her boyfriend.
How does everybody in this podcast like their tea?
Chai and milky.
And Chad?
I like mine pretty, like, moderate to strong, usually with some sugar and milk. Depends on what kind of tea it is.
To me, it depends on the tea, but I like it middle strength, little bit of milk.
Oh, I also like it icy and
gray.
Minty.
When I was reading through this chapter again, like before the podcast, like I said, I read the whole book. Can I tell you again that I read the whole book?
As many times as you
I read the whole book!
That should be how you introduce yourself every time.
I read the whole book! I will.
I'm Sheridan. I read some of the book. I'm Charles. I read the whole book.
I'm Chad, and I haven't actually read anything.
I had a friend in the room while I was reading it, and he was really mad over two things, and I want to bring them up. Anna was constantly explaining why Christian was opening a door. He was also mad that any given character had to do two things at once. I don't have an example, like, just leave me alone. But it's something like Kate walked into the room while tapping her finger on her book. She doesn't do that, but
I do that when I write, I'll admit. And I realize, like, he stood up as he looked around the room. And it's a bad habit, but, like, you feel like you gotta have get as much packed into a sentence as you can,
I thought it was
maybe.
A common mistake, which is why I personally didn't harp on about it. But the explaining about the opening the door thing is kind of fun.
In the climactic scene of this chapter, Anna does a plot advancing trip, as she usually does, it seems. She trips and falls into the street and is nearly decapitated by a bicyclist. Shit, Anna, Greg cries. He tugs the hand he's holding so hard that I fall back against him just as a cyclist whips past, narrowly missing me, heading the wrong way up this one-way street. She already tripped. You don't need to also make it the cyclist's fault.
It gives it a sort of feeling of urgency if she's about to be killed.
I guess, but like she didn't see the cyclist like either way, even if he was. I guess like she would only have looked one way maybe because it was a one-way street, but you should always look both ways. She's an idiot.
I thought that his interjection was hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like, shit, Anna. He just sounded angry to me. Like, what's your fucking problem?
Well, what is her fucking problem?
It's true. When they're talking over coffee, she says, his gaze holds mine. And she says this as if she doesn't normally expect to be looked at while she's speaking or to look at other people.
I know what that's
I do
like.
that too.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. It's just, I don't know. She's just explaining it like it's not a thing that people do.
The way that I got over this is when I notice people staring at me, I hold the stare really long, and it makes me feel like I'm powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I have this problem with looking at people and being looked at when I'm talking. I just, with all the other little things that make her seem not human, it just adds up. It just adds up.
If the gays are holding each other, it's actually a beautiful thing, because why shouldn't they? They should be allowed to have their love.
It is. Christian, when he's like interrogating her about her life and her background, he says, after she's like evasive or coy, but he says, you're not giving much away, are you? But this is after, like just after she's told Gray her biological father died, that also implying that it was also her mother's first husband. She still keeps in touch with her stepdad, implying that was her second husband, and then openly mocked her mother's love life / remarriage. I really think that she's given a lot away there, but perhaps Gray's just not as intelligent as he thinks he
he's
is.
just saying it to be dramatic.
And then the last thing is that there's a line where Christian is surprised by something, and he says, Christian raises his eyebrows in surprise. And that's fine, but the way that it's written, it just immediately evoked this image, like, does he do it slowly? Does he do it quickly? Do they look like drawbridges or floodgates?
Like a floodgate, and then all the blood came out of his head.
all of the burning in Gray just floods out.
The last thing I would like to say to wrap up is to say that there's a plot hole. Why doesn't the couple who's making out in the elevator get off once they get to the lobby? Were they not going to the lobby? Isn't that why you get on an elevator? Was it too awkward to get off with Christian and Anna, or were they in the elevator to fuck? It's a plot hole.
Well, maybe does it specifically say they don't get off?
Yes.
The elevator?
Like, they snicker as the
okay.
doors close or something.
Oh, okay, I see.
Anyways, in conclusion, Anna asks herself, whilst sipping on tea with Christian Grey, why does he want to know this? It's so dull. And that's a question that James should have asked herself while writing this book. Why does the reader want to know this? It's so dull. The entire chapter was inexcusable. If one was reading it for the sex, which I'm not, their lady boner would be so gone right now, unless for some reason you're turned on by damsel in distress, and that doesn't help me. So, sorry.
I can sort of see, like, she's trying to, like, set up, like, a sort of slow build. Like, with, traditional dating standards or whatever, but I believe that after this it sort of ramps up.
I can't. I just can't. I hated this chapter so much. I just hated it.
Yeah, I think this chapter was completely useless. It was the same thing as the last two chapters, where it was just two people talking in a room, except at the photo shoot where nothing happened. Like, it basically it establishes Christian's relationship with Kate, which so far doesn't mean anything. It establishes his relationship with Jose, which so far doesn't mean anything. And then they go talk in a coffee house, and it's not like the things that happen in the coffee house are like the same things that happened in the last two chapters. Like, there's not any additional characterization or sexual tension building here. It's just useless. But
I think that this might be another thing from having been written serially, published week by week. She didn't have a plan.
But then this is a filler chapter, and that's shitty.
Yeah, like, I can sort of see, like, okay, they've met once. Now how am I going to get them to meet again? Okay, he'll show up at the hardware store. And but how are they going to meet after that? They have no reason to. Oh, they'll set up the photo shoot. Okay, they've set up the photo shoot, but now what? Okay, they go on a date, and then what? Maybe they almost kiss, but then they don't.
Go for your safe words.
Tomorrow, if that's okay, where would be convenient for you, sir? I can almost hear his sphinx-like smile through the phone. I'm staying at the Heath Minute in Portland. Okay, so, like, it's obvious, like, he's sphinx smiling because he was called sir, which, like, totally gets him off. But, like, how can she hear that? I don't understand. How does she know? Like, does she wonder, like, why is he sphinx smiling at me? What's going on? Is he getting off to me calling him sir? That's fucking gross. There's, like, okay, it might be, like, flirting, but, like, still, it's super skeezy. Like, how many people call you sir in a day, Mr. Gray? Tons, I would imagine. Yeah. He's the CEO. So, I don't know, it's just really weird to, like, choose to be like, oh, this time it's sexy, and I'm bringing you into my BDSM world, whether you like it or not, by getting off on you calling me sir.
In the world of BDSM and kink, there are people who get turned on by things which most people would consider fairly innocuous, like getting stepped on, perhaps. Yeah. I don't know, like, I don't get off on being, I personally don't. I don't know if anybody else does. Well, no, you don't have to disclose either way. So how do you deal with that? Like, if it's something like, what if every time I say the word the, like, the person I'm talking to is like, oh shit, like, I have a huge boner, like, what do I do?
I mean, I feel like you should be able to separate it from, you know, in your life, and if you're not, then maybe you have a mental problem. Which is not a bad thing, necessarily, but it's still something you need to work on.
It's sometimes hard to say, like, what is the difference between something I need to get treated for and something that I just maybe have to go with the flow and not disclose that I get turned on by that stuff and just let it happen to me without involving other people.
And the other safe word is, do you always wear jeans, he asks out of the blue. Okay, this is, not...
Looking at her butt.
This is also something I feel like I'm reading way too much into, but it reminded me of this sort of fetish where you kind of take a modern progressive woman and you brainwash or hypnotize or just subjugate her into a, like, 50s perfect submissive housewife. It's really, I mean, like, you know, everybody, you know, do what you want or whatever, but I find it really creepy. I can sort of see that he wants to see her in dresses, starting to try to control many more aspects of her life, which is, it's fine, but it's just like, you're not there yet, dude.
She should be consenting first before they do that stuff.
Yeah. Like, he's not telling her to do that yet.
No, but he's kind of like, yeah.
I can see it, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna do this to you.
My safe word is this entire chapter.
Do you have any, Chad?
One is the dream that she has, because if she's implying, like, in the implication that it's somehow maybe slightly erotic, but also that somehow erotic things, especially fantasy things, are some sort of, like, dark forbidden territory, that's not a good image to pass on to people. And then also, like, when Christian Grey, both times that he's met two possible suitors to Anna, he's just been immediately become this like subtly macho territorial asshole. And it's like, one, I don't really think that happens all that often in the real world. It definitely does, but, like, he doesn't seem like the type that would, I mean, he does seem like the type that would do that, but also I
feel like he doesn't need to. He's Christian Grey.
That and the people that he's dealing with respond in kind. Not everyone would react the same way to, like, that sort of alpha male like, positioning. They'd probably, like, defer or just blow it off or, like, ignore it in a way that would, you know, diffuse the situation.
They're fighting over their Anna.
Yeah, it's really the sort of, like, imagery that evokes, like, two animals, like, fighting over something. Not like, it's not good.
I feel like we're being a little too harsh. Like, there are some people that this is what they want to read about, but I also feel like if this is going to be appealing to a bunch of people who don't know about BDSM, okay, there's, like, fantasy and then there's reality. There might be, you know, a certain piece of literature that a person would read because they have non-consent fantasies where they would want to be held down, but they wouldn't want that to be happening to them in real life, like, without having negotiated it beforehand or something.
The spoiler legend! Alright, go ahead, guys.
Does Kate ever dom somebody?
We don't find out.
Okay, like I was so because I sort of think that like she canoodles around with Christian's brother.
She does,
Do they just have like a normal relationship?
apparently.
Oh, lame.
Lame.
I still think it would be kind of hot if she donned the handsome buff. I don't know. It doesn't say he's buff, but
Handsome,
I'm gonna.
buff, blonde baby. Yeah, well, he's a cute guy. I mean, and having some femdom in a novel, you know?
Yeah.
like-
Well, is there? I feel like I've heard that there is a femdom in this book.
yes, there is, but
Like from what I heard, like she's the woman who taught Christian everything he
correct.
knows.
So, wow, it's so problematic. We'll get to it in another podcast, but just
Okay.
accept this explanation for now.
Okay.
He has an older lady who kind of initiated him into BDSM when he was 15.
Boo!
Barf. So let's go into the next question.
Christian calls her out for being nervous around men, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's so personal." Is there like an explanation? Does she have a history of being nervous? I mean, clearly she's not nervous around Jose or Paul, really, except for, constantly turning them down. It's like, does she have like some sort of past trauma?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it might be related to husband number 3 or whatever.
She answers that she's nervous around Christian, and I believe
Yeah.
that's how we ought to take it. She's nervous around
Alright.
Christian. Other men don't make her nervous unless they like touch her, like Paul. And then that's kind of a natural response, I feel.
Okay. Well, that's all I got.
Okie dokie.
Good, Chad. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, do you have anything?
Does the cyclist come back?
No.
Is he the enemy?
Yes, but no.
Trying to
Okay.
tear them apart, literally.
Trying to tear her head
Does-
from her body.
Does Christian buy a tea company for Anna? Aw.
He buys a company for Anna.
Do they go to Paris?
They do go to Paris.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
That was this
Sounds
one.
good.
Bye, guys.